Listen, Mr. Samsonite, about the briefcase. My friend Harry and I have every intention of fully reimbursing you.
You open it up. Open it up!
Go ahead. Open it up. Do what he says. Harry.
What is this? What is this? Where's all the money?
That's as good as money, sir. Those are IOUs. Go ahead and add it up. Every cent's accounted for. Look. See this? That's a car. 275,000. Might want to hang on to that one.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
I know you've missed it, but we're back, bitches. And this is a special one. This is brought to you by the 4Bs. Mr. All-In, aka the $1 Trillion Man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, and surprise, surprise, no surprise, Mrs. No Show is still Mrs. No Show on what is the Centennial Show Pod 100. We made it.
I can't believe we're 100 in. I never envisaged this when I first bought that microphone, which I didn't want to buy for, what is it, 70 quid?
Yeah. You're getting your ROI out of the microphone for sure during the pod, and I'm sure you use it for work as well, right?
No, I've got bugger all USBs on my laptop. So yeah, it's not so much I use. Plus, I'm not external. Am I anymore?
Probably for the best, isn't it?
Yeah, probably for the best. Locked away in my broom cupboard.
Yeah.
But
Well,
anyway,
you out for this.
But anyway, 100 episodes. My kind of coming into this, I was thinking, what kind of question would we ask? I suppose start with Mr. All-In. What have you learned over 100 episodes? I mean, you start off your other pod with your brother. You're the one who apparently knows everything, whereas he's the one who knows nothing. So have you learned anything in the last 100 episodes? Has your mentality or anything changed from doing all these pods?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I've definitely learned more. I think this pod has definitely kept me closer to Bitcoin because I used to be on Bitcoin Twitter a lot anyway, but I think my life has changed a lot over the last 2 years. So it's coincided quite nice with the pod because being a house owner and now a dad, I definitely do not spend much time on Bitcoin Twitter anymore. When you
and a farmer.
And a farmer, yeah. So I think it's definitely kept me closer, and I have definitely learned a lot. And I think it's been good saying stuff, and then you guys challenge it sometimes, or sometimes just me saying it out loud. I realize that doesn't sound right, and I have listened back to some previous episodes, some of the earlier versions. I think I disagree with myself. I think some of my views were not very well rounded in some instances, and not very coherent. And by articulating it on here, I anger myself by listening to it back sometimes.
What kind of things?
There's nothing that really comes to mind, but I think it's just probably just the attitudes on various things, like the various exchanges, hardware wallets. I think in the early days, obviously you guys were asking a lot of questions about basic stuff, and sometimes I listened to my answers and they weren't that great. And I think because I've had to do that, and I've had to do it quite a bit, and I've been angry at myself about how bad my answers were, I've refined those. And I think I'm better at explaining Bitcoin now because you guys have asked so many questions and I've had to discuss it so much on here. And then I listen to it back. And that's what's horrible, like listening to it back when I answer a question and I miss a key point out, or one of my points wasn't quite clear enough, or sometimes I'm just outright wrong on a point. And I just cringe. I'm like, oh my God, why did I say that? I might have been 7 whiskeys in, so it might have been part of the reason. But but I've really enjoyed it. And if anything, the biggest thing I've learned on here, I wasn't sure whether you guys could get on board. I've obviously been talking to you for freaking literally years before this. And I think once you came kind of on board and just you kind of had orange pilled yourselves in the background, which kind of prompted the pods to start. But you hadn't really. Yeah. When you really are honest with yourselves, you weren't orange pilled because you came on and you were still questioning me on numerous things, and over the episodes, you slowly but surely kind of warmed up to various different positions that Bitcoiners have that most people don't, and now you share them, and you share them for good reason because the data supports it.
I think
that encouraged me, actually. That encouraged me that by discussing Bitcoin for longer, you will get it. And you guys just hadn't discussed it enough in open, and had your concerns just listened to and then answered a few times. And I think eventually you got it. But it gave me faith, because I just thought it was nearly impossible. If people are going to get it, they're going to get it. Whereas some people just obviously just take longer than others.
I think it's like linking everything together, because, you know, you're saying, oh, you weren't fully orange pilled, but I'd say we were orange pilled. I think it's a lack of understanding about the grand scale of everything and what the consequences are and how that all connects. I think that's what we were missing, because I knew that the reason why I got into Bitcoin is because I knew how unsound the money was. But then it's, well, with
But you didn't at first. Compared to what you know now.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't at first.
I thought it was unsound as in inflation, but I didn't realize the knock-on consequences. So, like the situations which I've been rattling on about in, the Economic Hitman, and then one which I've been going through lately, When Money Dies. Those are like, when you get to that level, I think there's nothing which really surprised me anymore. There's nothing which I'm willing to say that's definitely wrong. Because whilst I may not see it at the moment, I'm not going to discount it, because it may actually be the truth and something will come out.
Yeah, of course.
What about yourself, Sir Neverlook? Would you pick out anything in particular?
For me, it's the consistency. And I know we're coming off 2 weeks of not having a pod, but I absolutely love Tuesdays, Tuesday evenings, being able to sit down, discuss Bitcoin, discuss what's been going on in the world of Bitcoin and the global macroeconomics of it, and then piece all of this together to bring it back to everyday life. And I think that's where, that is our niche, that's our calling, back to the listeners to say, this is how it affects you, and equally, this is how it affects us and me, and why I'm even more bullish on it as well. So it's been really good to continue. I think we all are, we are active, continuous, lifelong learners, and we like to understand things. And it's not quenched our thirst, because we're still doing it week after week, aren't we? We're like, yeah, but give us a little bit more. And the agenda writes itself, and it gives us a little bit more. And then we peel back another layer of the onion to find out more, and we're sharing that. And the beauty of everything is that it is digitally recorded, so that we can show the receipts to everybody and anyone to say we've put in the hard graft and proof of work. That's what I've learned over the 100 pods.
Fair enough. What kind of, I suppose for the next 100, what are the gaps? What's the target?
Ooh, what are the gaps? I mean, and I know there's still so much more to learn. And so the gaps are the things that I don't already know right now. So strangely enough, I've not listened to, is it Anthony Antonopoulos' The Internet of Money, but he's got 3 volumes of it. So that's my book, digital book, audio book for this month.
Oh, nice.
So volume 1, and then 2 and 3 to still go. And they're at least 4 hours each. So he's going to tell me, even though, he then turned into a shitcoiner, but we all know that conference back in maybe 2010, maybe 2011, where there was very few people in the room, and he succinctly broke down what Bitcoin is. And then you think, oh gosh, this guy's a genius, So if I'm going to listen to those 12 hours, I'm going to learn even more. Oh, yeah. It's a
good shout, actually. So I haven't got it on my list. haven't got it on my list, but it is well worth a listen.
Yeah, he's got that art, hasn't he? He's got that skill of being able to break the complex into simplicity.
Have you listened to his original videos that are just on YouTube?
Yeah, I'm subscribed. Yeah,
no, I haven't actually.
But like, not his latest ones. I mean, his latest ones a little bit
jazz. Yeah, there's a little jazz to it. You're right.
Yeah, I haven't listened to years, but it's his very original ones, right? Because of those conferences back in 2010, 2011. And what's best about it, number one, his presentation is great. He's a very good deliverer of material. But then I love the Q&A bit afterwards because the questions are great. The people that went to these Bitcoin events back then really knew their stuff and had very good questions about the future of Bitcoin. And the way he answers them is just immaculate. It's something that, like I said in my answer before, I strive to be as good as that at answering a question because they're all just mentioning essentially FUD type stuff, the typical stuff that comes up even now, 14 years later, it's still coming up. But back then, when no one had really articulated the answers to how Bitcoin is going to overcome those things, and Andreas had the answers then, and so well spoken. So they're the very, very early ones back in 2010, 2011, him at a conference. That because I think I've said it before, but that's what orange pilled me. When I was watching him say all that, the questions in the audience were the questions in my brain. And he answered them so well. I was like, oh, that's it. He's filled in the blanks for me.
And just to think, the answers that he gave are still the correct answers all these years later.
Yeah.
Well, the fundamentals haven't changed, have they?
I know, but Bitcoin literally is still the same thing. It's just TikTok every 10 minutes is a block.
Yeah.
So if I was the same question that you just asked, so never look, I would say it's my to-do list for the next 2 years, if we were saying over that. But hopefully I'll do it quicker, is hardware wallets and becoming self-sovereign over that fully. This whole debacle around Ledger. I've been a bit lazy on I kind of knew all these concerns before. I probably just was blindsided or just blinkered, pretending this problem didn't exist and that Ledger, Blockstream, Trezor, whoever you want to do, if you are relying on them to look after your keys, that is always a risk. They push an update to that device, which steals your Bitcoin. And I kind of always knew that was there, but I just went, oh, it's fine. It shouldn't happen. They can't get the actual keys. And then obviously this whole debacle came up and went, oh no, they can get the keys. And because I always used to say, wait for an update. There could be a bug, could be a vulnerability, But it seems to be, oh no, there doesn't need to be a bug. It doesn't matter if you wait for the update. They could push the update. They could hide it in the background. A government official could freeze your funds if you come up on the wrong list at some point, just by knowing that you have been sent a Ledger or a Trezor or whatever, or a Jade, and it's when, that fucking sucks. But building your own with raw components and loading the software on yourself, no government official knows that exists. So there's no one to subpoena. There's no one to. So that needs to be done. I need to become independent. And I reckon, really, if I really push myself, that should be the case, not just for the hardware wallet, it should also be for the node, and it also should be for my Lightning node. All these things are completely possible, affordably, by just buying some kit and then downloading the appropriate software onto that kit and running it myself. There's no reason why I can't do that.
There's got to be a way to productize this as well. Someone should be looking at this, kind of going, to be fully self-sovereign, how can it be done?
Yeah, because at the moment people are kind of doing that, but they're productizing it completely and giving it to you. You just need the raw components to go, what kit should I buy and what software do I download, and can I have a user guide? I would absolutely pay for that product. If someone just charged me £100 for the user guide, I'd pay it. But then I guess that user guide is going to get copied and shoved on Twitter, and then everyone can download it for free. But I don't know how you productize that. But so becoming truly self-sovereign is probably something that is a target of mine, where I'm not relying on a single company for my Bitcoin. At the moment, I'm relying on multiple. for if I look through my the various bit of kit I have for Bitcoin, it all has a logo on it, and in reality it shouldn't, if I'm being brutal with myself.
I mean, it's an ongoing thing, is continuing to orange pill others, but maybe moving towards Mr. All-In's, Bitcoin standard. That should be the goal. I don't know if it's a year to 2-year goal, because that's very difficult, but that would be fantastic to just be on a true Bitcoin standard and just living off Bitcoin.
I think fuck you, money.
Society. The society in which we live in just doesn't back that up, does it? We've seen certain things like Google and Lightning wallets coming together, so we'll cover that, but we're just not there right now. But it's happening.
What are you going to try and do, Dr. Evil?
I suppose it's self-sovereign, which I think we've all got to look at over the next year. But the two things which are going on in my head is knowing more about Lightning, but also Fedimint. So it's a kind of different layers. Anyone who's not familiar with Fedimint, it's Lightning. To really work well, you've got to have your own Lightning node. Whereas Fedimint is building these kind of like how do you say it, almost societies within that kind of like realm. So you've built the almost like motorways with the with Lightning Network, whereas Fedimint's building the town infrastructure or the roads, so people are interconnected better. And I want to know more about that. Like I've got a video waiting for me on YouTube to listen to. I'm trying to remember what his name is now. I'll have a quick check and I'll watch later. But those are my two main areas because I don't know enough. Obi Nwosu on what Bitcoin did. So it's just to learn more. I want to know more about it. I want to know more about Lightning. I think I've read about half of the Lightning book. I need to get back to it, but it's just a very hard read.
It's a hard read. You're right. Spot on with regards to that. Like when I got it, because I don't know, you got the Kindle copy and I got the physical copy, and it just took me back to my university lecturer law books, and I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
And it's not you.
I understood it technically. I'd written it dumb enough for me to understand it technically, but it's just very, very dry. And whilst I love reading and learning, it's probably a bit much, so I'll probably read it in pieces.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where we're getting into the realm of, we all know how to drive, but yet I bet none of us really know how the combustion engine in our vehicles really work. And, we're all using Lightning or have used Lightning, and we get into that stage. We don't necessarily need to know how it works, but we want and we have that desire to want to know how it works. And that's the gift and the curse, isn't it, of Bitcoin? Because for some reason, and I've said this previously before, but with this topic, it's like I need to learn or know everything about it, and it consumes my mind 24/7 in terms of what's going on. I know you said you kind of stepped away a little bit, Mr. All-In, but it's still there in the back of your mind. It's never not
it's
there.
Constant. Yeah, it's constant. Every single time I come back in off the land and I freaking the TV comes on in any shape or form, or I have a conversation with like a normie outside, it's all there, right? Everything's connected, right? You just suddenly see the government pressuring on this, raising taxes on that. They're pushing extra tags and vaccination in the farmer next door and stuff. I'm just seeing it everywhere, and you go, "Oh, I wonder why they're controlling that more. I wonder why you can't afford to keep that animal now." And it's just because the fiat is collapsing and it's going into hyperinflation, so they're controlling the food supply. They're getting us. You just go, "Oh, you can't escape it." That's the problem. Once you've been fully killed and you see how the money is literally right at the hub of everything, and there's nothing that is immune because the government has its hands on everything. You go, oh, it's fucking everywhere. So
I was
You've got to make a
listening
purchase of something. You know, every time I have to buy something, I'm thinking, this is fiat. This
I was
could be
listening
stats.
to The Lies of Keynesian Economics with Peter St. Onge, and he was on about this. So he's talking about how schooling has indoctrinated people, and basically talking about how Keynesian economics is a pile of shit.
Yeah.
But they've used it in order to basically bowl over the population, so digging in deeper and deeper, so everyone thinks it's normal, the state of economics which we have, but it's not.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about Austrian economics like it's a bit of a niche, like it's a bit of a, stepped aside, oh, you're in a weird realm now, whereas actually it's a proper form of economics. Keynesian is a side bit which we put mainstream to suit their I suppose drive to take over the world.
I talk about homeschooling my kids at a certain age, and people look at you like you're crazy. I mean, if you go back 100 years, sending your kids out every day to an institution to be taught by a minimum wage employee would be crazy. Whereas now, the parents teaching their kids themselves, that's crazy. And you go, that's fear. You've had your mind polluted, and you now think, and because obviously it's pushed on people that every household now needs 2 salaries, it's nearly impossible for people to homeschool because both parents are working. So it's one of them where, oh, even if it is better, we can't do it. And you go, well, why can't we do it? Fear.
It's because the ever-expanding supply requires more people in the working population, otherwise it'll flood the markets and cause a massive crash. Hence why we're so keen on having immigrants now, because we've got both mothers and fathers working. So you want to bring people in to stack with the ever-decreasing population. And then you kind of go, oh, that's why people can get through the borders, because we need them. Otherwise, the money collapses.
Yeah.
It's the same with the US. Why, you kind of think, oh, they're building a big wall and Trump and they complete it to Biden. But why are so many people getting through? Because they need them. If they don't come through, the money's fucked.
Yeah. This is horrible. It's just, I'm getting a goat at the moment. Like, I know it's a bit different, but you have to register and get like some type of number, right? To say you now look after livestock, even though it's a pet. I do intend to breed from it and create a mini goat farm in the future, but not right now. It's a pet right now. So fine, I need a number. Then once you get that number, you have to apply to another government agency to get a tag number. And every single animal that is born on my land has to have this tag number. And you just go, and literally when you get the number, they send you a link to a very good geocoding mapping service and go, put on this map where the animal is, where is it going to be kept? And this has to be right. And if it isn't, and we come and check, and it's not in this part of the field, then, because obviously livestock don't live in the house, clearly. They live on the land. And they don't want it just, it's on the land somewhere, because obviously some places can be huge, could be 1,000 acres. They want to know which field it's going to be in. So you have to click the field. You just go, what are the, this is nuts, right? It's like, you want to be like a self-sovereign, live off the land, that type of guy. And every step, because the person that's selling the goat won't give me the goat unless I got this government number, because otherwise they'll get in trouble. So I have to go apply for the number. I've got the number now. And I have to get another number in case I breed it. And if any animals are born on this land, I have to stick a tag in their ear with a number on it. And just go, what has happened to this world where the government are on everything? They know everything. And I'm getting a pet goat, for fuck's sake. You don't need, but they're scared, and I was just thinking about it again. If I got a cat or a dog or a goldfish, they don't give a shit. Why do they care about livestock? Oh, livestock's food. Livestock in being independent and having your own food source is a threat. Having a pet dog's not a threat to them. But
you could eat a dog.
Yeah, in theory. It wouldn't taste very nice. But straight away, it's like, because it's related to food. Yeah, if you're in China, maybe they do tag dogs.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
A boiled dog. Apparently, it tastes lovely. But yeah, it's just everywhere, right? So even though I'm not on Bitcoin Twitter every day, you live your life, and it's constantly the government are fucking interfering with you. Like, fuck off, leave me alone. And really, you go, are they looking to protect me? Are they genuinely looking after to make sure the food sources are nice and clean and of good standard? And I just go, I honestly don't think they are. I honestly just think they want to know where everything is. If they ever need to freaking raise taxes or try and stop people from doing stuff, they can, and they know where every freaking animal is. And that just sucks to have that kind of view. And maybe I'm just overly cynical, but I just don't trust the fuckers at all. Every single time I do something for the government, I go, this isn't helping me. I know it isn't.
Anyway, do we want to kick off with the topics this week? I think someone else is going to have to cover the first one because I didn't see this one before we started.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. So our first topic is, and for those regular listeners, the SEC within 24 to 48 hours of one another sue both Binance and Coinbase for unregistered securities. And there are nuances to this as well. So, we can spend time in terms of going into each. I think the guy who I shared with you guys in our little group that was with Natalie, I forget her surname right now off the top of my head, but he explained it and broke it down really well because it was 128 pages in terms of the court filing that they did to them. But essentially, Coinbase have been sued and are being pursued by the SEC for listing of coins on their exchange. Now, I look at Coinbase as not as scammy as other exchanges that are out there, and they've, from an interview that I've seen with Brian Armstrong, he said that 90% of coins Coinbase have rejected.
Yeah.
But what we have to remember with Coinbase is that they are a publicly listed company on the stock exchange since 2021. And they have transparently continued to be, as possible, cleaner than clean and whiter than white. So this, straight away springs alarm bells in my mind. And you used the word cynical previously, Mr. Orlin, as the SEC just want some money. They are essentially the mafia wanting their cut.
I don't think they don't need money. They can print their own. They're not after the money.
They want a little bit of money and they want the control.
They want the control over them, just like they did with Facebook back, was it 5 years ago?
Yeah, 100%. That's what they want with regards to that. And on the Binance front, just to wrap it up super quickly, is CZ has been controlling and manipulating the Binance bubble and has always been in control over the various different entities of Binance. And I would definitely encourage people to watch that interview with Sam Callahan, and I want to say, is it Natalie Brunel?
Yeah.
Oh, I watched that. That's why I know about the Binance. So I think Binance and Coinbase are completely different animals.
They are.
So like Coinbase is about the listing of unregistered securities, so general gibberish. But then again, it is shit coining. Whereas Binance is they've been manipulating the price of their Binance coin for when people have been investing, so they get more money for the company. Been manipulating the general price because when they make a profit, they then buy more Binance coin to basically pump their ware and obviously their assets. And then additionally, he's also been slushing the funds around, so he's been moving it. So the customer funds haven't just been the customer funds. He's done an FTX. He's been going down to the craps table and gambling it.
Yeah, it's commingling of funds, isn't it? Yeah.
That's the one.
Yes, yeah, I agree with you guys, right? So this is and it's very coincidental, right? That the SEC do both at the same time. I feel that this is clearly timed, right? So Gary Gensler, when he first got put into position, he was pro crypto, right? Pro Bitcoin. And this first year or two of being in power, he looked like he was. And he says he was trying to push out better regulation that was suitable to this new industry. Nothing ever came. He was talking, looked encouraging, right? But in reality, his handlers came in and went, "Look, Gary, you're here to do a job, and now's the time," right? So FTX has gone down, and now they're looking to come after a couple of the two biggest exchanges in the world, Coinbase and Binance. And they are two different beasts, which is why they're attacking them in two different ways. So Binance, I think they're looking, and their outcome of what they're looking for is an outright ban. That's obviously an exchange that is largely based in China. So they know they don't really have much regulatory power over them. So they look to just ban that from the US and hope the rest of Europe and the West follow. Whereas with Coinbase, they don't want to ban that one. Because like I've said on here before, they like having a single funnel for where all the money's going through and all the problem is going through, like they did with the social networks, the banks, blah, blah, blah. They don't want to break these stuff up and ban them. All that means is the problem goes elsewhere and it'll go to 100 different places. You have to wait for it all to play out. One winner will happen again, and that'll take another decade. The decade's already played out. Coinbase won the exchange wars in the US. They just want to heavily control them. And listening to this interview that I linked to here, which is the only reason I linked to this, is I was saying it's a really good interview with Brian, especially the first couple of minutes, because the way he explains it is just, we were talking to the SEC for years. We went through the IPO process, as you explained to Neverlook. We had to open our books, open up everything we did, and make sure we meet all regulatory requirements. Before this random citizen can buy shares in the company, you've got the US regulatory, the SEC, and the FTC, all these freaking random letter kind of departments that are government related. Make sure that companies are legit, because it's a kind of a stamp of approval to be listed on the US stock market. Coinbase went on there, went through all that requirement, talking to the SEC the whole way, and then they apparently they start raising concerns around these unlisted securities. So Brian says he just went, right, well, let's talk about that. Which ones, and how are we not compliant, and how can we become compliant? According to him, radio silence. They say nothing. So like a year later, they get a Wells notice, which basically goes, "You are in breach of regulation and are about to be punished." And then 3 months after that, bang, he's now being sued by the SEC. So he's just going, well, what's happened here? We were in dialogue. Then they just go quiet for a year, and bang, now they have this huge lawsuit against us. Why did they not just discuss it as we went and help us become compliant, right? We're in a new space. We're admitting that the regulation doesn't match. So we're happy to be compliant to it. They do all the KYC, AML type stuff, all that kind of bollocks. But they're going, oh no, but each of these things is a security, potentially. Apparently they list 13 in the lawsuit, where it's pretty much 13 of the biggest shit coins. They pretty much list them and go, these are securities, which by and large, I agree. This is it's like a stealth way of listing yourself on an unlisted stock market. But the difference about, I don't really get like the massive problem about being a security, other than the fact that you wouldn't be able to just sell it to any man and his dog on random exchanges.
But who have they listed as the main ones on there? Because it's not Ethereum, is it? And I thought Ethereum would have been right up there.
No, it's like Solana and Cardano.
Yeah.
Kind of like to that point, why isn't Ethereum on it? That's what I don't understand.
I think they're too scared, because there is an argument to say it's decentralized, even though we know it isn't. I think they're a little bit wary, but they're still classing it. The only thing they say it definitely isn't security is Bitcoin. Interestingly, so that's another point. Actually, I think that they take this as two battles. First battle, destroy shitcoin, right? Just make it pretty much unobtainable or so heavily regulated in the US that shitcoin is all put in a category, very tightly controlled, in and outs, all KYC'd, every account, every wallet, done. With Bitcoin, I think they're saving their best bullets for Bitcoin. And they're going, look, shitcoin in reality, it's a little bit nuts. People are moving around money in shitcoins. It's kind of annoying. All this drug money and illegal money is leaving and going overseas. It's kind of annoying. We'd like to shut that down. However, the real big whale in the room is Bitcoin. They're not just causing a minor issue. They're coming for the whole fucking pie. They're looking to replace fiat. We need to keep that one separate and really throw the big guns at that one. Let's not just group it in, because Bitcoin will sneak out if we put them all in with shitcoins, because Bitcoin clearly is different. So let's take Bitcoin out. And in reality, we think, oh, they're being nice. They're saying Bitcoin isn't a security and we can just keep trading it. I wouldn't get too confident. I think they're saving the real big weapons are going to come out and aim at Bitcoin. Once they've destroyed shitcoin first, I think there's one that shitcoin to become virtually useless. All the dexes and places that you can buy shitcoin without going through KYC and AML. At the moment, that isn't technically illegal because they're not securities. It's just like friends giving each other money and all that kind of stuff. The second you call a shitcoin a security and you're on a random website that didn't have KYC and AML on it, you're now breaking the law. And basically the person selling it is the one breaking the law. And instantly, like what each case of that is like 10 years in prison and millions in fines. So that shuts that whole unregulated shitcoin market down. And then all they'll need is to catch a couple of people, throw them in prison for a couple of decades, and everyone will just go running, right? Or at least they'll want offshore from America anyway. No one in America will be doing it anymore because just the punishments will be too high. Right now, they can't punish you because it's not illegal, technically. But
so I think you're right. You're spot on in terms of we'll deal with everything apart from Bitcoin. But what will happen, unfortunately, is the narrative, as you and I and everyone on this pod listening no doubt will know, is that it will just get wrapped up into one. In terms of crypto, will get wrapped up into one, even though we are talking crypto and we're not talking Bitcoin. And that's where it will create more FUD around Bitcoin, as opposed to crypto and the specific coins that they are going after with Coinbase.
I just don't think they can do anything about Bitcoin. I think their best chance is by wrapping it in the whole crypto mess. But I just think, in terms of their regulations, they're just going to have to wrap it in, and hopefully the bit of FUD will hit Bitcoin. So I think technically they can't really go after Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So they'll try and wrap it in, and they'll try and get some kind of outcome, such as, oh, you want us to help you? We'll ban Bitcoin, or we'll limit you to £50 a month because it's gambling. I just think, they can't go beyond that like they would with, say, Cardano.
I just think it's like Bitcoin's such a unique beast, right? It's just I just think it's by design. I think if it suited them, they would have grouped us in. But I think they've got very specific arguments against Bitcoin that don't fit the other ones. So you like the classic FUD, really, it's around the climate, right? Around the money laundering side of things. And obviously the real reason is, they can say it causes inflation, because in reality, Bitcoin will be a contributor to inflation eventually, because people will be selling their dollars and exchanging into Bitcoin. So it's going to exacerbate it. But they'll start blaming for everything bad.
I thought inflation was transitory.
Even they don't say that anymore.
They've given up that one.
Yeah. So I think it's worrying. In reality, this is something that it's almost Bitcoin is going to get hit by whatever crypto get hit by. Bitcoin's going to get hit by something 10 times stronger, because we pose 10 times the risk, right? This is, like I said, this is a gnat on the back of like a lion's head, and they're just hitting it. It's slight annoyance, whereas we are the rival lion walking in, or we're the honey badger coming to take the lion dinner. And that poses real existential life threatening to that lion. So I think that is why they're not just going to give us a slap on the wrist. They're coming for us big time. And I wouldn't be surprised to see, gold like restrictions on Bitcoin. But I think they're waiting the time as well. I think they go, we need to wait for when the time is right. When the threat is at its biggest and we've got our biggest arguments, and when the country is really in a bit of a state, we're going to blame everything that is wrong with the country on Bitcoin. And then we're going to go for it and make people hand it all in. And we need people at the right point where they will do that. And right now, they're not at breaking point. So let's just knock crypto off first and get control of that one. And then Bitcoin, we'll leave that a couple of years and come for that one.
Not also not at breaking point, but also just not at the point where the masses have enough. And the various different avenues, I think, where the masses will have and hold their Bitcoin. Because as you know, at the moment, you can buy Bitcoin through exchanges, you can buy it on PayPal and various other routes. But the key one, I think, will be when you can buy Bitcoin via your bank. And I would probably say that's the worst route to ever buy Bitcoin, because even though it might be super easy and super safe,
It would be ETS, wouldn't it?
It won't be safe. Yeah.
It's in a but then again, they don't want to increase the knowledge or availability of Bitcoin to random investors. We saw this in Argentina. IMF soon swooped in and said, "Do you want this loan? Stop selling Bitcoin through banks."
Well, again, it depends on what do they want to do. Do they want to capture the Bitcoin? Because people will aimlessly walk into that false sense of security when they say, "Don't worry, we'll look after it because we'll keep it safe. You never know what might happen, and therefore it's done." And lo and behold, they've got hold of the Bitcoin.
Well, we had the 5% insurance, didn't we? That article, or was it a video? I think on the last show. So it's that kind of thought that self-sovereignty, everyone's become so what's the correct word? Mollycoddled. But they aren't willing to do things on their own. So it's actually, you go to 9 to 5, you go to Tesco, your food's already pre-packaged, you go home, you put it in the microwave, you put on the TV, you watch EastEnders, you watch Hollyoaks, you watch Coronation Street, you watch whatever other soaps there are, you watch the 10 o'clock news, you go to bed, you wake up, you get your shreddies, you get your milk from Tesco's, and then you go to work, and it's literally the repeat. It's like that video, is it the rat? It just shows the cycle round and round and round, like you're caught in the rat trap when you're just locked into the factory. And this is, people don't know or aren't willing to take the risk to do something themselves.
Great.
On that sounds like a somber note. On that one, is it time to move on to the next story? So, a returning story for Ledger. Ledger are delaying this recovery. What have you termed it as? The Steal My Keys feature. They're delaying the recover until the code is open source. So it's actually a good comeback by them, but I think they've burnt the bridges now. So I kind of look at this and go, yeah, open source, it does make it all right because people will check, you get the hardcore coiners, but there's so many changes for all the shit coins that I don't know if a hardcore Bitcoiner would really want to sit there and read all the code. So there'll be a lot of changes in each release.
They've tainted their view as well. They're not the same for me anymore.
Yeah, I mean it's given me time because I've been waiting for my I can't remember the name of the Jades to arrive. They've arrived, and I've set aside Friday to put together or move myself from the Ledger, which will be interesting. I'm trying not to lose all my Bitcoin, or rather should I say the Sats, which I recovered since I had that boat accident.
Yeah.
But they've come back. I think it's on this one. They've come back and they said, unintentional communication mistake which hindered consumers from accurate understanding recover. They're just not backing down from this.
Yeah.
They just don't. I think Ledger is just a shitcoin company now, isn't it?
Yeah. I think you're right. It's they're just done, aren't they? If you're a shitcoiner, they probably still are the best wallet out there if you want to hold shitcoins on it. But if you're a Bitcoiner, there's so many better options now. So
yeah, the two which we're recommending are Coldcard and Jade, aren't they?
Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been setting those ones up. I'm pretty much mainly switched over now. I'm just taking my time with it. It is a very different experience. I have got a criticism of Jade because they do push Blockstream Liquid, which is a side chain of Bitcoin. It's got some random stuff on it. I don't like the fact that that's put on the front screen and was slightly confusing. I'm like, what's this? And it's on the Jade. And they also have a Jade multi-sig, which allows you to set up, again, sharing of keys with Blockstream. And apparently there's just a key that's sent their way and it just unlocks something. But again, that was pushed when you first set up the Jade. There's 4 options to go into the wallets. And clearly the one you want is just single sig Bitcoin wallet, right? And they don't put that front and center. They kind of just mix it into a list of 4. And I didn't like that. Like, come on, the majority of people just want to be self-sovereign with their Jade. That's the option they're having, right? They don't give a shit about Liquid. They don't give a shit about sharing keys with you through some secure encrypted method, whatever. Which weirdly, when I saw it, I'm like, what the fuck? This is literally why I'm buying Jade. Ledger tried to push this on me and scared the shit out of me. So clearly I'm not picking that option with Jade. And it is different as well. It's very different.
I'm scared just thinking about it. Just you talking about it, I'm like getting heart palpitations thinking, oh my God, that's it. This is where it all goes wrong. And
it's go very, very slowly. Just as because the problem is obviously we've had so many years of Ledger, and you just I'm sure I felt the same thing when I first set up a Ledger, right? It's like, oh, this is scary, it's a new, but then you get used to it and you go, let's just do a USB device. It's and the thing is, I think when I first started using Ledger as well, it was genuinely hard. They didn't have Ledger Live. You had to download.
They didn't. You're right.
You had to download freaking browser plugins to get the thing to work. You had to make sure it wasn't an infected browser plugin, which was fucking terrifying because there was loads of infected ones that would steal your keys and oh God. So once the Ledger Live came, I was when I was piss easy now. I know the software is legit. I know it works for Ledger. And then you move to Jade, and Jade has its own software. It all works. It's just different. It's all different. And sending Bitcoin to and from, it's all fine. But another criticism, and this is of Bitcoin overall, is I clearly had not been doing very many layer 1 transactions. And obviously by switching all my wallets, and obviously I hold funds for my nephews, for various family members, right? And they don't have huge amounts of Bitcoin in these things, not massive. The fees to send Bitcoin now, the cheapest you can get is £2, and that's if you want to wait 24 hours. If you want to get it there in an hour or two, it's £4 to £5. If you want to get it there instantly, it's more like a tenner. The last time I did this, which is only a year or 2 ago, where I was moving around, I switched a load of things, I was paying pennies. So all this bollocks, all this ordinal JPEG bollocks that I keep seeing on Twitter, because I didn't think it was still going on, but apparently it still is. And it clearly still is, because the network is full of shit. And it's pushing the price of Bitcoin or fees on the Bitcoin network kind of to stupid levels where if you're trying to switch a wallet that has 50 to £100 in it, but if you're paying £5 for a fee to move it, that's like a noticeable chunk out of that money, right? Obviously, if you're changing your life savings, it's fine. But I hold money for people that of all various kind of sizes, and some of them I just didn't move. I'm like, fuck that. I'll leave it on Ledger for now and wait for the fees to go down. I don't want to pay the £5. Like, I'll pay the £5 to move some of my wallets over. But my little nephew and stuff, I gave him 50 quid for Christmas or 20 quid for his birthday, whatever. I'm like, I'm gonna pay a fiver to move that now. Like, no, fuck you. Like, and it angers me because it's JPEG bollocks as well. But obviously, zooming out a little bit is that this just addressed to me that Bitcoin does need to scale on layer 1, or we need a better layer 2, because I'm not going to move any of this stuff into Lightning and keep it on Lightning wallets. I don't trust it enough right now to hold money there for long periods of time. So I need to use layer 1, and moving small amounts of Bitcoin on layer 1 just isn't fucking feasible right now. And obviously at the moment it's bollocks transactions that are being sold to morons. But if we extrapolate out Bitcoin for say another 5 years and the use of Bitcoin genuinely goes up, then these fees are going to come back and suddenly it's unsustainable again. And yeah, we either need secure platforms on layer 2 that work, or we need to sort out the fees on layer 1. There's genuinely a problem there.
Who would that sit with? The miners?
Yeah, well,
The setting of the fees.
it's the network itself, right? Because we have 1 megabyte blocks and a block is every 10 minutes. There's only so many transactions can go in the block. And if 3 blocks get full, then naturally the fees just go up. Like if you want to skip these transactions and not wait 24 hours, because the blocks are full for 24 hours, right? There's already that many transactions in the queue. So everyone publishes and you can see what fees they're paying. So the network will tell you, if you want to skip the queue, this is what you have to pay. It's almost like, like with Google AdWords. I don't know if you've ever done that, but depending on what Google AdWords you're doing, Google will go, oh, the competition for that ad is 50p a click or something. But then if that area gets more popular, they'll go, oh no, you're on page 2 now for 50p. To be on page 1, you have to pay 75p or £1 per click. And so it's all supply and demand. And it's the same with Bitcoin. If no one's using the network, you can just go put 1 sat transaction on it, and a miner will pick that up and process it and fire it through. But the miners look at all the transactions, look at what fees they're paying, and pick the highest feed transaction and process that first because they want the money. And it's so at the moment it's kind of sky high, and it's by design, but and obviously as the price of Bitcoin goes up as well, if we go Bitcoin 10x's, right, it's even if the network stays the same, then the number of sats that it takes to put into the network is the same. So that would mean a £5 transaction now would be £50 if Bitcoin 10x's.
I think I saw you swearing at someone on Bitcoin Twitter about the ordinals. And they said something along the lines of, I think you said something along the lines of fucking ordinals. I thought they disappeared. And someone said, oh no, you just don't understand. And I'm like, but it's just JPEGs on the blockchain, isn't it?
Yeah, and apparently it's so much more, which everyone that's into NFTs says they're so much more than the JPEG. And you really go, what do you mean? And then they don't say anything for 10 minutes and you go, it's a JPEG.
Of course it is.
Anyway, on that positive note, now we're on a bit of a tumble down. Do you want to move on to Chainalysis and the FBI?
Jesus, yeah. All doom and gloom for our episode 100. But I think it's just, sometimes I'm not critical of Bitcoin, and I think sometimes I genuinely found a problem there. It's just a genuine use case that I was using Bitcoin for. And it wasn't working great. So we need people working on better layer 2, which I think they are doing. Obviously Lightning and all that kind of stuff is just progressing every day. But with layer 1, I don't think we have much of a solution around the fees. And I think it's genuinely layer 2 has to get better. If layer 1 is genuinely going to end up being £50, £100 to send a transaction, then that breaks layer 1, right? So we need a layer 2 that can do pretty much everything, and it can't right now. It's just the wallet that you'll carry around with you. It needs to be able to do more than that, because you want to be able to move your money around occasionally, and it can't be costing you hundreds of pounds. It just can't.
Those big boy exchanges and transactions, I think it's certainly worthwhile paying the extra, but not astronomical prices.
Yeah, so you got to think if we're in a Bitcoin standard, you've got your you got your Bitcoin account sitting on layer one, and you say you've got 2 Bitcoin or whatever in it, and then you go, oh, I want to put my spends on my Lightning wallet, so I'm going to take out, I don't know, 200 Sats. So you got to transfer it, and that's going to cost a fee on on that transaction for Lightning. So, it's just kind of scaling back to simplicity is it does need to be sorted out, because you'd only be paying a fiver, or the equivalent about 200 Sats. Bitcoin language, it'd probably be like 10 Sats or something in order to move back 200. So you're getting a 5% fee.
Yeah.
On just moving your spends for the month across, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think I need to,
It's the one thing I've
definitely look into
realized.
that.
I thought the whole scaling thing had kind of been fixed, but then this ordinal thing, I think it's been a nice little false flag, which is, it's not a real problem. Clearly ordinals will come and go away. But it just reminded me of, well, this traffic will come back though, because people will be using Bitcoin. That is going to be the progression. And this is what they're going to be experiencing. And I'm annoyed by it right now. This is annoying me. Yeah, I'm spending a lot of money in fees because I've split my Bitcoin up into loads of different wallets. I've got loads of different people's. And I'm spending a fiver every time I send a transaction. And
I suppose it is going to have to be literally layer one is going to be the gold vault. So when you're dealing with large amounts, the equivalent of hundreds of thousands of pounds and upwards, go on layer one. And then anything below is literally, a couple of grand or whatever from what you're getting paid goes on to layer two. But it's got to be a better system. Like currently the Lightning wallets, like you said, aren't good enough. And it's got to improve. But I think this is, what I was talking about earlier, Fedimint and Lightning, when the improvements get put in. I think this is going to be some way towards sorting that issue out.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Sweet. Might as well leave it on a slight positive instead of a max and negative. But move on to chain analysis then, and the FBI.
Our favorite author, Marty Bent.
Yeah, I can't get into this.
I think we've got a story from every week. I had a read of this. I can't remember the name of the person because it's a while ago since I read it. But my understanding is it was someone who used the equivalent of CoinJoin years ago. And so they sliced and diced the coins. And the coins, what were they used for in the end? Oh, it was purchasing a domain. And what was the domain to do?
I'm not sure. Is that in the article? Yeah. Yeah,
but ultimately, it's explained the process of chain analysis within the article, and it used a very fancy word, which at first I was like, "What the hell's that?" So heuristics. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, heuristics.
I had no clue what it is. It's a fancy word of saying the process of guessing.
Yeah.
So literally, they've guessed where these coins have ended up through the process of guessing, maybe a little bit elimination, and blame this person for the uses of this domain when they're not actually entirely sure. But there's lots of little bits which Marty's put in the article around the lead prosecution on the case stepped aside, so you could take on a job at chain analysis. I think there's another link as well. I don't think I read this through Marty's article, but I think someone else involved in the case is actually linked to chain analysis as well. So it's not very clear cut, but they're acting like it is, and they're acting like chain analysis is literally the truth, but it's not. It's an educated guess.
Yeah, because it's a website called bitcoinfog.com, which they're saying, which is, I'd never heard of that until this, which it is just a mixing service, and so they think that they have undone some of these coins and believe that this guy called Roman is the owner of this site. But then you wouldn't need chain analysis too much. They seem to be leaning completely on chain analysis evidence as opposed to, well, do you have any hard evidence that he owns bitcoinfog.com? Does he? Show the electronic evidence that he either owns the domain, has accessed that domain, has admin accounts for that domain. And they don't seem to have. They just have a load of spurious links from chain analysis, which, as you just said, really, it's the best guess, because when you do use a mixing service, they mix up, so they take a load of Bitcoin in one end and they spew it out, but they make 10,000 kind of times more transactions at the other end. But there's an argument to say Chainalysis claim they can piece some of it together, but it's just best guesses. There's nothing certain about it unless you're in the code of that mixer. You don't know where the Bitcoin got mixed.
So say he's with 7 other people, and all those 7 people throw in a coin each. They can't, and then the coins are split apart, passed amongst each other. But a coin which is involved in that coin join time has gone on to buy this domain.
Yeah,
and they're like going, it's him, and it's possibly it could be.
Yeah,
the other people are in different jurisdictions. They don't know who the other people are. They can't track them, so they pinned it on him. Is what this sounds like.
Yeah, and using your example there, it'd be virtually impossible to actually do any analysis on it, because you said there was going to be, you know, everyone throws in 1 Bitcoin. The main reason why they can show it is if someone throws in, say, 5 Bitcoin, and then a load of other people just put in fractions of a Bitcoin, you can go, right, the person we're chasing is the 5 Bitcoin guy, and he only mixed it with another 100 transactions that only add up to half a Bitcoin. Right. So we're pretty sure where the 6 Bitcoin ended up, right? Because there's only half a Bitcoin that went in to mix it. It didn't really get mixed. So that's when they can kind of unpick the problem. But if you move in small amounts, it's completely impossible. And if everyone puts in the same amount, it's completely impossible. But they seem to be tracking 36 Bitcoin here, and they reckon he had a Mt. Gox account. Which, again, if he had a Mt. Gox account, this guy would be minted if he was in Bitcoin at this time, and also ran one of the biggest mixers going. So yeah, so Marty seems very skeptical that they have much of a case. But then it does obviously beg the question: why would they go for this guy? Do they just want to pin it on someone?
I think it is. I think he's the only person who we can actually track.
Yeah, so they just want a win. So they're just going to throw some random Bitcoiner in prison.
It's a good article. Like, Marty's good writer. I recommend anyone to read this just to learn a bit about Chainalysis. Just for a bit of background. It may be highly critical then, but at least you'll know the fundamentals of what it does.
Yeah, and it's terrifying, right? You know, when you suddenly when you look at this, you go, "Oh, this reminds me of the banks." When you've got the I remember watching that kind of YouTube clip of some governor talking to I think it might even be Jamie Dimon or something, going, "Oh, you know, I met your son or something for dinner. He's a really top guy. He'll be replacing you soon or something." He went, "Oh no, he's replacing you. He's joining the regulator." And so it's the banks are super corrupt, and the fact that the regulators and the top of the banks, they switch positions. So how can you regulate a company that in reality is your promotional, kind of the end of your career? You jump over there, and some of the bankers then jump to regulators, and it's just this incestuous pool of people. And you go, these 2 things are supposed to be completely separate if they're going to be independent.
Yeah.
And obviously you see it here, which is it's less surprising here, right? Because the FBI and Chainalysis, basically the same thing. But it's quite bizarre to see, you know, a high up FBI agent jump over and now be the CEO of Chainalysis. It's just, if we ever had any doubt that Chainalysis wasn't a good actor, we know now, right? They're an FBI division. The FBI couldn't figure out Chainalysis themselves, so they just essentially have acquired this private company who were the best in the business at reading the blockchain and trying to undo mixers. So they've just gone and acquired it basically by putting one of their top guys and to head the company up, and they'll clearly be just using it, all that software, as and when the FBI want it. And so it's kind of scary. Yeah, they're coming at us from all sides here, aren't they? Analyzing all the transactions, but like I said, I don't think there's not many transactions you need to do as a Bitcoiner that should be illegal in the terms of it. You know, I wouldn't. Obviously, we always know if you're going to buy drugs or anything like that, don't do it with Bitcoin, man. Like, the transactions there, buy it with fiat. Go and get it out of a cash machine and give the drug dealer your fiat cash. You know, untraceable transaction that just disappears with time, and no one will ever ask you what that 50 quid was for. Right? It's just and you can just go shopping or whatever. It's gone. Whereas when you send a £50 transaction in Bitcoin to some random dude who's now been arrested for drug dealing, and he's named you as one of his customers, you're kind of fucked because you've got a transaction going into his wallet. So yeah, just use it right now, to keep your head below the parapet. Just use Bitcoin for legitimate purposes because they're looking to take Bitcoiners down, right? So don't make it easy for them.
Maybe leading on to a positive now.
I wanted to just touch on that actually. I think so CipherTrace is now a MasterCard company as well. So there'll no doubt be some government links as well, because I think they were acquired by MasterCard.
So another one. So should we go on to something positive?
Yeah.
So the next one is a link to a Twitter post about decentralized Bitcoin mining. So the worry has been about different countries making it illegal. So our current one is Bitcoin causes global warming. So the worry is America, UK, all those kind of like, is it G7 or G8? So Canada, US, UK, France, Germany, all those kind of like countries go, you can't do. Is he still playing armies?
Slava Ukraine.
So you worry about all those, but if you look at the map, there's actually the concentration isn't as set in, say, America as you would have thought. I mean, there are a large amount throughout Europe, China, and America. But I suppose what really surprised me was China. I thought it's illegal in China, or is that just trading a Bitcoin?
No, it is illegal, but they still mine.
Fair play.
Yeah.
But they are, so this is the story which we haven't covered, is they are opening up in Hong Kong. So I think they see it as an opportunity to get more trade through China by putting it into Hong Kong as a story.
Yeah, well, Hong Kong it seems to be the independent city, isn't it, of China? So
yeah,
like the rebel.
And another thing is, it seems to be quite widespread around about Indonesia as well, which I was quite surprised about. I wasn't expecting a clump there, but I was expecting a bit more in Africa, but that's a lot lower. And so I was thinking, is that down to things like inconsistent energy? Like in South Africa, they had rolling blackouts because they have taken all the taxpayers' money and not improved the infrastructure for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I think in reality, it's going to be money. It's going to be wealth, because to get a dot on this map, it probably represents, I don't know, thousands of miners, which is millions of pounds. So
yeah,
Africa does have a showing. It's a decent showing, but yeah, the concentrations of the dots, you can pretty much go through it and go, that's where the money is. Really, it's the rich places of the world, unfortunately, right now that are mining Bitcoin.
If you look at it in certain places, so you've got in the north, I'll say the north of South America, it looks like Venezuela. And I'm pretty damn sure it's illegal in Venezuela, and also it's a very fucked country and has been for years. So the fact that they're mining there is hilarious, but there's not much concentration within Argentina.
Yeah, looking at it.
Anything else which you pick out? I suppose there's a couple out. Is it the Canary Islands?
Yeah, there's dots everywhere. And
yeah,
the only clarification point I want to make on this is the answer to people that say Bitcoin mining is centralized, and they'll show you a pie chart where essentially there's 4 companies that are doing all the mining, and what they forget is that these are mining pools. And you can switch pools nice and easily however you want. But all that really is that they're sharing their hash power with a load of other people. So if a mining reward happens for any of them, they then share the reward to them. It's a much more sustainable way of running a business when you're doing Bitcoin mining, where you don't ever get that big, huge win if you mine a block and then you don't mine anything for 6 months and then you randomly mine a block again. very risky business, that, and you might not mine a block for 2 years and you're out of business. Much smarter to join a pool, get minimal, like smaller rewards, but more frequent. So that's what people are doing. But the genuine, like, where the Bitcoin miners are, is there 4 dots on this thing with 4 massive factories? There are not. The chart we're looking at has thousands of dots on it, spread right across the globe. There pretty much is not a single country in the world that is not mining Bitcoin, like, to quite a level of significance, especially, weirdly, Europe. The centralization of, like, the amount of dots around all the countries in Europe and Britain, there's shit tons there. And obviously North America and around the coasts of South America and Africa and Australia.
I think North Korea actually hasn't got any, which probably isn't surprising.
No, they probably just hack and steal it. That's the difference with North Korea.
Yeah.
They would go the easier route to get Bitcoin.
Generally, really, really interesting, and I'm hopeful that, you know, when things like actual renewable energy, like hydropower, becomes more widespread, we'll get more in places like Africa, so it's even more decentralized. So,
Right.
a good story. I mean, we're going to talk. Well, I suppose it may be Mr. All In, but there's the next one. I suppose is a bit of a positive. It's a bit of a laugh. It's a good video. So I don't know if do you need to snap your fingers?
Oh, I don't have the video because Bitcoin Reddit's down.
Well, I was going to say you'll be able to get it from somewhere else, won't you?
I've just clicked the link and it is still there in terms of.
Is it?
I think so.
Is it
That's a
I'm
private community.
Is it because I'm logged in? Because I just get it. I get blocked. So.
Yeah.
Go on then. I know what link it is. So go on, intro it, and then I'll click my fingers. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a scene from Dumb and Dumber, and it's got I'm trying to remember what the names are now. It's been many years since I've watched.
Harry and Lloyd, is it?
Yeah, I think that's right. Harry and Lloyd. So
Yeah.
they got this suitcase full of money. Yeah, and they it was meant to be for, I think, a kidnap. I think laundering money between a family or something. And they spent all the money on things like, I think, a Lamborghini flash, well, I'll say flash suits, but out here suits and various other things. And because they're so honest, they put IOUs in there, thinking they'll pay the money back. And so it's been a bit of a Bitcoin meme. It's across Twitter and also across Reddit, where they're saying this is basically the US government. It's a bunch of IOUs, which are never going to be able to repay back. So you kind of think Harry and Lloyd, I want to say Harry, was he a dog? No, he was a chauffeur and Lloyd was a dog groomer. So you got the pair of them, probably bordering on minimum wage. And I think it was a couple of million within the suitcase. Never in their lifetimes are they going to be able to repay it, which is the whole point. And me dumbing that down has probably just ruined the joke. But it's funny to think about when you actually think about the US government and any Keynesian government, what it actually is, and this is it, how ridiculous it is when you actually dig into it. But still,
Yeah.
all the fiat status will just go, it's just how countries work.
Yeah.
Always been
What's wrong with it?
I know, because it's straight away in my head, you know, Harry and Lloyd, they're putting out the receipts, and he's like, what the fuck is this? He pulls out one, it's like Ferrari 500k. He's like, well, that's a biggie. Keep hold of that one. And I just straight away thought of like the $1 trillion coin that they want to just bail out the whole US. You're going through the bollocks. Like, imagine like the US has crashed, right? And you come in as a liquidator to go, right, what have you got to pay back all this debt that you now were calling it in, right? And you're going through all the IOUs and you find this coin and they're like, that's a $1 trillion coin. Might want to keep hold of that one. Because it's literally worth the same amount as the IOU that Harry and Lloyd wrote for that Ferrari. There's no world that they're ever paying that back in any meaningful terms. Like, it's just a ridiculous amount of money that they're never going to be able to pay back in 1,000 lifetimes, never mind in one. And
or in another way of putting it, it's a bit like the Binance coin or the FTX coin. I can't remember what the FTX one was called. So it's BNB. Was it FTT?
Yeah.
Yeah, the FTT, yeah.
So you got those
And
two.
then,
They're just made by companies. They've got no value, no nothing. They can be shrunk, they can be increased, they're owned behind the scenes by what one main contributor, which is the US government, owns its own debt, which it's borrowing off, which makes no sense.
I think people were attracted to it simply because of the attraction of the platform as opposed to the coin itself. And there's a distinct delineation between the two. It's like there was once upon a time a huge love for FTX. So because I love FTX, I will also love to buy their coin. In reality, though, it doesn't really work.
Yeah, we always called it, for quite early on, like Clown World. But I think this is just Dumb and Dumber World, right? And you look at it and go, it's like you said, like the fiat statists that will love this and go, no, inflation is different, and try and explain it away. In reality, that suitcase full of bits of paper that say IOU and a number on it is the same as all the country debt that everyone owes to each other. None of it, they have no intention of paying it back, which is why the debt gets bigger and bigger every single year. It's just,
but it's so obvious, and people just go, "Oh yeah, that sounds fine. That's okay."
If your debt got bigger every single year, would you be saying it's fine? And it's like saying it's fine. You're 95 now, and your debt has continued to get higher, and you're like, it's fine.
But this is what a lot of people of our generation are like. Their debts are getting bigger and bigger, aren't they? When they come to retirement, their debts are going to be fucking humongous, and they've got they've got a minimal pension. They've got no way of paying that debt. It's just not sustainable.
Yeah. So actually, for the first time ever, I was on the FIRE Reddit. So the financial independence retire early. And someone was saying, "Oh, should I pay my national insurance because I'm essentially financially free, or should I pay it anyway to get a state pension?" And for the first time ever, most voted comment was one I agreed with. Because nearly every single time I go on that fucking site, it's all about pensions and Vanguard. The top comment was, I probably wouldn't pay into it. The government is under a lot of pressure right now, and what they will likely do is steal your national insurance and the state pension via another form of taxation. Meaning they will never stop the state pension, but if you have a certain amount of money, a different form of tax will come your way, which will be more than the state pension. So they'll give with one hand and take with another. And I looked at the replies underneath this comment, full of people abusing this guy. Going, why are you being a naysayer? You sound like a conspiracy theorist, racist, da-da-da-da-da. This has never happened before. All those kind of normal, smooth-brain idiots.
Did anyone write white supremacist?
Probably.
So that's the latest insult about everything is they moved on from racist. It's now a white supremacist.
Yeah. But it was just nice.
They're black.
Well, there's been a few cases of this in America. They've reported people being a white supremacist, but they turned out to be like Mexican or black or whatever. And this has been the initial reports because they throw in the words to shock people now.
Yeah.
It's like anything, isn't it? Of course, like you have to be inclusive. So of course, black people can be white supremacists.
Well, that was actually their explanation. When one of these news channels or news outlets, they got called out for it. And that was their explanation.
Wow.
But yeah, it was nice to see though, like this very normie kind of fiat financial type Reddit or subreddit, someone actually speaking truth, going, I don't think the state pension's going to pay out, and the way it's not going to pay out is I think I saw that, but I didn't bother reading it. I saw the headline and I read the description, but I thought I'm not going to read the replies because this is just fucking stupid, because by 2030 it's going to be on its knees or it's going to be over. Yeah. And that's the only reason I clicked the comments, just to see if what the sentiment was going to be. And I fully expected everyone was going to go, absolutely pay it. You need your state pension, it'll pay you back double, or it's tax efficient, some kind of bollocks, the normal kind of advice that people give, which worked 100 years ago and don't work now. But no, the top comment actually disagreed and went, like, because basically his argument was if you have virtually any money in the bank or any asset like a house, they'll find a way of not paying you your state pension because unless you have to sell everything first. And once you get to zero and it's all gone, then the state pension might kick in, but it'll be means tested. And it'll basically be a form of, essentially benefits for people that have nothing, as opposed to be, oh, everyone gets that because you paid into it, you've earned it. It's going to be, no, that wasn't the agreement. It was, now it's means tested. And in reality, they will still pay it back, actually. You'll still get that pension, regardless how much money you earn, but other taxes will come into play that will by far wash out what the pension gives you.
Well, they want to increase the state pension age from, what is it now, 65 or 66? They want to put it to 68. And one of the MPs said that quite a bit out loud. They want more people to die.
Well, he said that out loud?
Yeah, he didn't say the exact words, but it was pretty much like, we can't support that many people.
Sounds like we should need another couple of rounds of vaccination.
Yeah.
Let's get some, and we'll get some of those oldies out of here.
Exactly. You delay it by 2 years, that's a slice taken off, isn't it?
Let's have another round of COVID, another couple of, and that'll be another milli off the charts.
Yeah, they'll soon put it to the retirement age. Sorry, not the average age of death to 83, won't they?
Oh yeah.
I always love to quote him, but Robert Kiyosaki brought out a book called Second Chance. I think you and I, and Dr. Evil 10%, have discussed it, whereby essentially he's talking about people paying into their pensions and it not being there. So, therefore, save the money yourself.
It's all the kind of like public bodies. It was all the public bodies like the police. Like they realised that all the pensions were underfunded, so all these people have been paying for years and haven't built up like it was meant to. So they literally can only pay out like 20% of on the books, but more and more new people are still paying into these pensions. And they're just getting right down. So I think they're bordering on going to administration, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
But they had massive expenses, like flights and God knows what for all these people. But the fact is that they could have literally just put all this big pot into the S&P. It would have paid out.
Wait, 2 more stories to go. They're both just jokey ones. So first one's, I just copied a post from, to be fair, it's from Reddit, I think, but I don't trust Reddit at all, and good job I didn't, because this is one actually I can actually still see.
I was going to say, do we ban Reddit from now on?
Yeah, to be honest, I nearly banned it before, but I just left that one in, and because it's so unreliable, Reddit. The mods just remove shit, Reddit goes down, and now there's just a whole shit show going on over there. So yeah, Bitcoin, Reddit's banned. But it's just a repost really from BJ Penn, who is a ex-UFC fighter. And it's just nice seeing someone, right? So he's posted, hey government, you can print as much money as you possibly want, then why the fuck are you asking us for taxes? And then in the comments underneath, he put, inflation is the hidden tax because they want our blood. These people are sick. So I think it's safe to say this UFC fighter has figured out that money printing causes inflation and taxes are just to keep people poor. He's a little bit angry about it, I think, and he's just letting everyone know that what the fuck. So the virus is spreading, I think, and people are starting to realize that inflation fucking sucks, and don't blame poor people and immigrants for inflation. Blame the fucking government. They're the ones doing it.
But it sounds like he needs to be more patriotic.
I say, think of the
that's exactly how it will be positioned, won't it? That you're just very unpatriotic.
Oh
no, I'm just very, one, skeptical, but two, hip and wise to the way of you politicians and what you're doing with the money system.
But you think how they used to do it for what was the First World War is they didn't print into oblivion. They did bonds. So ultimately, they loaned the money off the public, so you invest into the bonds, and they said it was your patriotic duty to invest. So pretty much it is.
Yeah, at least there was a bit of an option there, but now they don't even bother giving an option. They just increase the supply, and everything goes up in value. Your wages go down, and you just go, "Oh, what happened there?" And they just go, "Don't worry, we've saved Ukraine." Okay. I can't feed my kids. Sounds like you're being a white supremacist. Okay, I'll shut up. Talking about sickos and pedophiles. We're not talking about the government. We're talking about Balenciaga.
Yeah.
I was a bit gutted when I saw this post because I thought it was going to be one of those AI generated Balenciaga adverts. Have you seen them where they've done like Harry Potter? They get AI to generate it. And it's like a Balenciaga advert, but it's taken all their like adverts and it's put it into Harry Potter. So it's got like this slick like Dumbledore and Harry Potter and what's his Ron Weasley. It's the oddest thing. They've done a few films for it. I was a bit gutted it boiled down to some clothes.
What's good about this? It's actually real, right? But good luck selling a T-shirt for $930 and a hoodie for $1,500 to a Bitcoiner.
Well, yeah, exactly. So for some people that will be standard, but to the Bitcoiner that is conscious around the money that they actually spend, yeah, good luck with that. I think I don't know. Did we talk about my story offline about clothing specifically in Amsterdam? So when I went to the Bitcoin conference, I saw a store in the main center of Amsterdam, and I waited because I was just like, I really want these two tops, but one, it's consumerism, but two, I don't want to pay the freaking taxes that will happen with the EU. So when I was in Money 2020 last week, I went to one of the street parties, and through the power of the consumer gods, I was 2 or 3 minutes away from the store. So I already knew that I was going to go there anyway, and I'd emailed them to do so. But yeah, I just walked and collected what I wanted in person. But I waited 8 months. I visited the store online so many times thinking, I like this, I like this, I like this, but I refused to do so.
What store was this? Can you say it?
Yeah. The name of the store is it's called Collect the Label.
And what were these goods that were like so outlandishly good that you were being just fawning over them for 8 months?
It was just 2 sweatshirts.
The only place you get them is there.
Yeah, only place you could get them was their own unique sweatshirts from Amsterdam with their own unique blend of cotton and literally there is their own unique blend of
have a nice design on it or something like what are they quite plain or what? You probably got them in a frame or something, yeah, they're fucking worth more than your house.
These are, I mean, you can tell these guys are Bitcoiners basically. So okay. the design, one in particular where this one, the lighter says burn, motherfucker, burn. So that is there. And then there's more of a
it's the kind of shirt that you can pull off. I wouldn't dare wear anything like this.
I don't know if this one is like, Bitcoin related. I mean, collect with the diamond.
Model.
Yeah. And then, so never look, I will definitely pull that off for sure. and then this one's quite plain on the front.
So that's like cash me outside.
No, collect the label. And then, and then quite Dutch on the back. But again, this is just the power of Bitcoin. And I think just I was prepared to wait, and not to
You'd pay
spend.
20% more, wouldn't you, with import tax and stuff?
Yeah,
It's plus
Yeah.
delivery, obviously, which
plus
delivery would be all right. They probably, what's that, like another 20, 30 quid maybe, not too bad. But then when you shove on the import tax on top of that, yeah. But hey, you want to buy some shirts that you like, you buy those shirts. But yeah, these Balenciaga, and the thing is that they call them crypto hoodies and crypto t-shirts. Like they're not, they're Bitcoiner ones. So if you put a load of random shit coins on there, they probably fly off the shelves because shitcoiners are morons, and they would love to buy something that is hugely overpriced with shitcoins on.
Yeah.
But if you're a Bitcoiner and walking around in a $15 hoodie that just has 2 B's on it, and when you could have got the same hoodie for $50, you're not going to get any cred in the Bitcoin community. Everyone's going to be looking at you like you're the moron in the room. Yeah. You'll be literally walking around and there'll be billionaires just knocking shoulders with you, and they'll be wearing clothes that are 10 years old that cost a fiver, and they're billionaires. That's what billionaires wear. Poor people wear expensive clothes. Rich people wear cheap clothes, because that's how they got rich.
Correct. Even though I just made my purchases.
Even though you have some
Even though I've made my
$15.
purchases. And I know.
I think that's it for episode 100, isn't it? Jesus. Done it.
It's true. We've got there. Right. Well, we will be back as normal each and every week with the 4 Bs brought to you by Mr. Orlin, aka the $1 Trillion Man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, myself, Sir Never Look, aka the Excellence of Execution, and surprise, surprise, no doubt we will be just us 3. And no, Mrs. No Show.